welcome everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. The speaker blocks me. They can't see me. Tonight's going to be a very special night. We have two really wonderful performers. It's also a kind of a transitional night. I've been doing open mic for about 14 years, and so the two very talented people who are performing tonight are going to start taking over. So tonight's kind of a transition period. So it's going to continue every month, just like always, but we'll have new energy and new ideas entering the picture. I have a few announcements I wanted to make. This is sponsored by the Festival of Words, which celebrates words, spoken, written, all forms. I also want to, sometimes I forget to do my thank you, so I put them at the beginning now, so I don't forget. I want to send a thanks to Chicories, and who host us. Just so usually there's more of a full menu available, but there were some electrical problems, I'm told. So tonight you can enjoy some delicious drinks and desserts. And as I say, life is short, eat dessert first. So that works. Thanks to Danny Wells on camera and Olin Thibodeau, who sets up everything. And also a quick thank to Deborah Young, who's taking over the PR for Festival of Words and doing a great job so far. Also, a thanks to our performers tonight, Nia DeCou and Jacqueline Lewis Langston, who are they're taking over the open mic and, as I said, bringing their new ideas to it. Just a quick overview. There's a group poem that's going to be working its way around the room. So when you get that group poem, just add a line to it. Don't think too hard. Just throw something down. There's also an open mic that'll take place tonight. So if there's something you wanted to share, it could be a poem, stories, any song, anything you like, you're welcome to participate in the open mic. We'd love that. Okay. I'm going to introduce our first performer. The highly talented Jacqueline Lewis Langston is a St. Mary Parish secondary education specialist in English. She is an educational consultant with Afro Scholars Emmanuel Publishers International. She's an entrepreneur for Soulfully Yours Music. She's a wordsmith, a vocalist, and a part-time keyboardist with the LA legendary Henry Turner Jr. Blues Band. And by the way, she mentioned to me that she doesn't do all these things at once. She just does them one at a time. As a musician and singer, she's been influenced by ministry, gospel, and jazz roots. She was mentored by both the local honorary music educator, conductor, Mr. Paul Bonner, along with the late Ray Earl and Kathy Earl of Midnight Recording Studio in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Tonight, she has a program called Transition of Shifts, Fault Lines, and Frequencies that integrates music and spoken word. Please give a big old warm welcome to Jacqueline Lewis Langston.
What a beautiful, beautiful, awesome, awesome audience. I am just, I'm overwhelmed, but it's a great, overwhelming feeling, and just to be welcome. And again, thanks to Chicories. Yeah. And tonight, even though we talk about transitions, and Patrice, I got a chance to meet her last year, and I would always follow them on Facebook, that social media, and look at all the wonderful and the beautiful things happening, and people coming together and just sharing their gifts and talent, and knowing that what you have is enough. Knowing what you have and God's given you, or heaven, or the universe, or whatever you choose to say, is exactly enough. So we are going to talk about transitions. So we are transitioning a little bit here. Nia and I are going to be in here, and I'm shadowing them. So just know that you're in safe hands. That's right. All right. So transitions of shifts, fault lines, and frequencies. Chose this tonight just because of the transition here. And it says this. I wanted to share this. Shifts. It's a change in direction, position, sometimes place. Have you ever felt as if something was being moved and you really didn't see it, but you knew something was changing? Well, maybe into a new place. Life, that four-letter word, is filled with transitions all the time. It's filled with shifts, and there are slow shifts. There are swift, old and new shifts, and there are shifts in between the then and the there. Yeah, there are shifts in between the when, just when. There are shifts in the where. There are shifts. There are transitions. But one thing I know for sure we can count on is for change to change all the time. So I remember, where's my chicory guy? That was my little piece. I was like, he's gone. So anyway, I remember growing up, and I remember, if you're of a certain age, you're gonna remember this. I remember my dad's old 1951 Ford truck, and it had a shift on the steering wheel, and it only had 3 positions, that transmission, those 3 things. So tonight in my shift part, I'm gonna share with you it's not long, it's just one of those sentences. It's one of those things or axioms that may just help you in your shift. Here we go, the first shift. Aha, the first shift. Where's my shift? My shift has moved. But let me share this with you before I share the first shift. Change. I remember when driving in my dad's truck, and the shift stick was on the column, and I really wanted to learn to do it. And one day we went to the seafood market, and we were parked right in front of the riverbank on the Atchafalaya River. And I decided to shift something, and I began to move and had a change in direction. I really did. And the truck was moving in the direction of the river. And so I noticed that, had it not been, and I'm so glad, had it not been for the manual shifts in life, sometimes manual shifts helps us to slow down. Automatic, we are all about automatic in this time. And perhaps we want to be automatic because we think that we are going to eliminate the process of change, whether it's slow or whether it's swift. We all have to go through the transition of change. So, with that said, here is my first shift that maybe will bring you inspiration or pure joy or passion or adventure or the possibilities. Here's something that'll help you to shift. It says this: and we thought that our victory was in the changing of the mountains. But we have since learned that the mountains was changing us. Shift. Why am I still putting question marks where life has put a period? Shift. My mind, your mind, our minds. It's like the cheetah's speed. It's like the eagle's wings and the lion's teeth. Shifting to my fault lines, the places, the in-between places, the places that meet together and strike together, and the striking and the fault lines where the fractures are. Have you ever had a fracture? The fractures, the broken places, the hard places, the accumulated strain, transitions, fault lines. I submit to you. I saw a woman one day, and I shared this last time, but I felt to read it again. But it reads this. It's called Yesterday I Saw Perfection. Wow. She was at that fault line, the fracture. Yesterday I saw perfection, and her face was set like a flint, and her eyes danced determined, yet her demeanor gave no hint. Yesterday I saw perfection, and her skin was toughened by the sun, for she knew where she was going. Forgetting things behind, better had already won. Yesterday I saw perfection, and right there in Houma, on West Park in Maine, you know, I didn't even think she had noticed that he noticed that he really does. He really does. He really does know our name. Yesterday, I really saw perfection, and it was quiet, but it was bold. And although you can tell, sands are always shifting in her eyes, moving forward was the goal. Now on frequencies. After I talked about the transitions and everybody's so solemn, I'm gonna talk to you, and I'm gonna bring in a frequency that is gonna change. It's gonna change our little psyche there, and I'm gonna get Danny. Danny, where are you? Is Danny here? He's here. Danny, I need you. And we're gonna change real quick. And we're gonna change the frequency. And it's a song, and it was a time in America that this song was popular. And let's talk about frequencies. Old influence. I'm ready. I'm good. Woo! Transitions, everybody, here we go. Here we go. Get your coat, grab your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet on the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that pitter-pat? That happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade. No longer am I afraid. Rover crossed over, and if I only had 1 cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller, with gold dust at my feet on the sunny, sunny side of the street. Can you help me out a little bit? Can we just snap a little bit? Come on. Woo. Yeah. Sunny side of the street. All right, Dan, he got it. Yeah. to walk in the shade with those blues on parade. No longer am I afraid, 'cause Rover crossed over. And if I only had 1 cent, I'd be rich like Rockefeller, Bill Gates, Oprah, with gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. Transitions. Thank you. And Patrice.
That made me feel quite sunny. Please give another hand for Jacqueline Lewis Langston. Right. That was amazing. All right. See, there was something I had forgotten to say earlier that I wanted to say. I just wanted to say real quickly that next month, at the end of May, we'll be featuring Daryl Bork, who will be reading From the Other Side. Henrietta DeLille, those are poems inspired by the founder of the Sisters of the Holy Family. And also next month, we'll be featuring Sister Teresa Sue Joseph from Lawtell. She's a member of the Sisters of the Holy Family, and she's going to give an oral history about her journey to becoming a sister and her interest in it. So that'll be a nice evening. Also tonight, we're featuring, as you know, Nia DeCoo. She's going to read some poetry, poetry story. She's the assistant head of the Academy of the Sacred Heart Boarding School. She's a writer and activist. Her background is in folklore, ecology, and sociology. As an educational consultant, she has traveled within the United States and abroad developing curriculums for marginalized peoples. Her writing has been honored by the National Foundation for Advancement of the Arts and the National Blacks Arts Festival. She is known for creation of her own literary genre known as historical realism, and will present flash fiction and works, actually it may have changed, I'm not sure. She's going to read some original work. She's a wonderful writer. Please help me welcome Nia DeCoo.
Hi. Just so that there's not speculation throughout my whole reading, yes, there is a dog in my backpack. It's not just a backpack, it's a dog carrier. It's made for animals. I didn't just shove him in a bag. And it's good because he can stand up and sit down and lay down, and he like always knows where I am, so he doesn't freak out as much. But yeah, I came here straight from work, and he's usually with me at work. And so he's with me here, and all of you. So give a round of applause for Doug in the backpack. All right, so they said a lot of nice things about me in the intro, some of which were surprising, but I'll take it, I'll take all the kudos I can get. I like that there's a small crowd here tonight because that means that I can do weird stuff. When there's a larger crowd, I probably have to be a little safer. So are you guys ready for like some weird stuff? Can you handle it? Woo, weird stuff. Okay, all right, so here's the story. It's called In Defense of Oak Trees. Let's take a moment to acknowledge whose land we're standing on here. The Attakapaw, the Opelousas. This land then colonized and brutalized by the French and the Spanish and then the French again, and eventually the Americans, settled by the Acadians, cultivated by black Africans, both free and enslaved. So honestly, it came as no surprise when aliens arrived in Acadiana. The Creoles and the Cajuns responded with their usual southern hospitality as the stonemen lumbered through Grand Coteau, Cecilia, and Arnaville. They didn't have a flying saucer like in the movies, just a big, ugly boat made of some type of stone that was light enough to float down the Teche, like paper mache. We introduced ourselves and exchanged pleasantries with the stocky, gray newcomers. We were skeptical, but they reassured us that they meant us no harm, and they spread themselves out evenly amongst the rural towns, half a dozen in Sunset, another handful in Henderson. Pretty soon they started drinking the same beer and eating the same boudin as us, so we were partners after that. My daddy was pastor at First Baptist in Arnaville. He asked me to befriend the Stonemen and try to understand their ways. Daddy was a generally friendly man, but this had other motives. He wanted to be the one to bring them to Jesus before the Jesuits in Grand Coteau got to him. So, one day I ran into a stone man in the grocery store and struck up a conversation. I asked his name and how old he was, and I learned two things. The first, stone men don't have individual names on account of being stone. And second, stone men are ageless and immortal, also on account of being stone. After several failed attempts at small talk, I invited the stone man back to First Baptist to talk to Daddy. To my surprise, he agreed. Daddy asked him why he'd come to Acadiana, and up until that point, the stone men had been pretty cagey about why they'd come. But Daddy had a way of getting people to talk. The stone men came with one mission: survival. They were an intergalactic FEMA sent to aid the suffering people of Acadiana. They had seen the destructive weather patterns in their rocky planet so far away. They watched hurricane after hurricane getting worse and worse. The stone man told us, gently at first, that we should evacuate, move north to the wooded, piney parts of North Louisiana and Arkansas. But what Creole voluntarily moves to Arkansas? We ain't scared of water ball. I tried to joke with him, but his chiseled features only got more serious, more forceful. The next storm would kill us, he said. He insisted that the next flood would drown us. Daddy called him a doomsday prophet and asked the stone man to leave the church because the only people scared of climate change are people with no faith at all. There's certainly biblical precedent for surviving a flood. Their conversation fell apart pretty quickly after that. I offered to drive the stone man home to his big, ugly boat on the bayou. He was silent most of the way. I couldn't tell if it was because he was disappointed or, just because he was stoned. I know you think Daddy's crazy, I said, but there's something more important to him than this, but there's nothing more important to him than this land. We just can't leave it behind. And what if you don't survive? Then I guess we don't survive, I answered flippantly, but the stone man was not amused. You would willfully choose to die in this place. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Instead, I decided to take a detour. He either didn't notice the turn or just didn't care to comment as we snaked down a couple back roads and wound up at my old high school. Moss swung from the trees and honeysuckle vines sweetened the air on our way. I drove slowly with the windows down and listed all the plants I knew by name. Finally, we got to a row of oak trees thick with moss, with branches thicker than the stone man's torso. Look here, through these oaks. It's beautiful, isn't it? On summer afternoons, my daddy and I used to take our lunch out here and have a picnic right over there. And then in the early mornings, when the mist is still thick, it looks just like a portal to another world through those trees. Those trees look nothing like an interdimensional portal, the stone man replied flatly. But they are, I said. My great-great-grandfather, Daddy's great-great-grandfather, was one of the original gardens who planted those trees. I've grown up swinging from their branches and having picnics in their shade. One day my children will do the same, and you're telling us to leave our homes. You're asking us for so much more than moving. You're asking us to give up our immortality. Maybe it was my imagination or I wished it into existence, but I thought I saw a tiny spark of understanding flash across his rocky face. I kept going like the preacher's daughter that I was, trying to breathe my little sermon to a compelling close. It's that faith that Daddy's talking about. Not just faith in God, not just faith that God will protect us, but faith that God will make this place special for the next generation. I don't know what I was expecting, an amen from the congregation, maybe just a nod of acknowledgement. But the stone man just shook his giant rocky head and ever so slightly asked to be taken home. Once the novelty of the aliens wore off, people got sick of stone men at their doorsteps begging them to evacuate. The open doors of Acadiana closed one by one, and we stopped inviting them to crawfish boils and chatting with them in the grocery stores. Stone men became another nuisance, like the mosquitoes and the gnats and the gators. Every town was overrun. One day, Daddy and I took our lunch down to the oak trees for old time's sake. To my surprise, my stone man was there. sitting on a woven blanket and staring down the center aisle of the portal between worlds. I tried to walk away, but Daddy was always a gentleman, and he walked right up and asked how he was. "How's the evacuation project going?" "Not well," he growled. Daddy pretended not to hear him. "Have you seen tomorrow's weather report? There's a storm coming." The stone man looked me directly in the eye and nodded gravely. "Take care of yourself, okay?" Daddy told him. The stone man thanked my father, then pivoted on his heavy heels and walked away. As he left, he turned his head, and out of the corner of his mouth, he whispered, "May God protect you both." The end. All right. Thank you, thank you. That's actually sort of like a longer thing that I've written, so I was nervous how it would read, but I think, it wasn't so bad. Was that bad? Was that too bad? Yeah? Okay, awesome. All right, so this next thing, you're gonna have to be, so the format is strange. So this is a curriculum that I've written, and what it does, it talks about United States history from the perspective of marginalized people. So from the Native Americans, from the Maroons that were over in Henderson Swamp, from the people in Okefenokee Swamp, lots of different people, the occupation of Alcatraz in the 1960s, all these things that we don't really know about American history because history is told by the victors. But it's sort of a double-edged sword because those people, these marginalized people, are also often the most overworked groups. And so when you're saying, educate yourself about your culture, you're asking people who already work way too much to do extra work, and it's a little crazy. So I wanted to find a way to make learning and reading about these episodes in history restful. So what it is it's a series of guided meditations meant to put you to sleep and inspire dreams about an episode of history. Right now it's just American history because history's big, guys. And so you play these recordings at night as you're falling asleep, and you have like super trippy dreams about being in a rainforest or, or occupying what used to be a former prison and creating like the first Native American state in the 1960s. It's super cool. And so it's adapted a little bit because this is a coffee shop and you cannot fall asleep here. It's generally frowned upon. But I want us to just kind of like breathe deeply together and meditate a little bit. Is that too hippie for you guys? Is that too woo-woo? Can you handle it? Can we meditate in Grand Coteau? Is that a thing? All right. Okay. So, let me tell you a true story about a place that really existed and things that really happened. Take a deep breath. Take a breath. Hold it. Now let it out. Brazil's Quilombo dos Palmares was a nation of fugitive slaves that thrived throughout the 17th century. As many as 20,000 or more people, among them Africans, Indians, and whites, lived in several cities in the mountains surrounded by a dense forest. They were at almost constant war with the greatest empires on earth. In its century of existence, Palmares brought together many cultures to form its language, religion, government, values, and way of life. In 1694, Palmares was exterminated. Nothing identifiably Palmaran remains. Not one bit of art, not one shard of pottery, not one word about how the people lived there. In fact, most of the information we do have about Palmares was written by its enemies. So let's go there together. Close your eyes and get comfortable in your chair. Stretch your toes and your fingers. Stretch your back and your shoulders. And then when you're ready, stretch your mind. Stretch all the way back to Brazil, the Brazil that existed 400 years ago, a Portuguese colony full of thick sugarcane, exotic birds, and impenetrable forest. You are an African captive in the north of Brazil, and you've run away. You and 40 other souls, armed with axes and machetes, fight your way out of plantation life and escape into the thick jungles of the inland mountains. Tread carefully. With every step, you feel the jagged ground underneath your bare feet. Feel the weight of the machete in your hand as you climb up and up and up. Vines and shrubs scrape against your skin, sweat and blood mingle into one scent. You have become a being of pure sensory instinct, wishing only for freedom. Be careful. Cover your tracks. Don't let them follow you. There's a deep ache growing in your thighs, but you must push through the pain because you remember the hell you left behind. All the friends you lost, your brothers, your sons, you've seen them fall over in the fields, machete in hand, work to death. With every step, you're climbing up and away from slaughter. Take another step, and another. Keep going. After weeks of walking, you find a place to stop. It's well defended by the density of the forest and the unforgiving slope of the mountains. You feel safe for the first time since you were stolen from your continent across the water. This will be your quilombo, your war camp. Freedom will not come without force, and so immediately after you settle, you prepare for war. To survive, you will need allies. You make friends with the Amazon basin. She gives you water, and you are grateful. You learn to speak with the trees and the plants around you. They offer food and medicine and shelter, and you are grateful. Finally, the people reveal themselves. Natives forced to flee when the slavers came. They intimidate you. This is their land, their water, their plants. But you are united in your common enemy, and their struggle becomes yours, and you are grateful. Breathe in now and let it out. Watch things speed up, then move faster. In these mountains, time means nothing. Plants bloom before your eyes. Decades passed in an instant. Look, your little quilombo is growing. Watch as thousands of refugees come scrambling up the mountain looking for your settlement. Africans fleeing slavery, natives fleeing slaughter, and European outcasts all come. They hear your story and they dare to hope. They risk their lives to find your quilombo and to find their freedom. Watch as one of them, a man who calls himself Ganazumba, rises from their numbers, a holy man who was born a prince in the Congo across the sea. He turns this collection of refugees into a unified nation, a nation that prays to saints, to Ori, and to the mountains themselves, a nation of spirit and strength. Your quilombo is no longer a war camp. It is a free nation. It is Palmares, the safe place amongst the palms. Breathe in. You're breathing free air. Now let it out. You're standing on free soil. All right, you can open your eyes now. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys, you've been lovely. All right, so I think now what we have scheduled is a break for you guys to patronize Chicory's. The lavender lemonade is like really delicious, and I think I'm the only person in here who has it right now. So you guys should all get on that. And yeah, just mingle amongst yourselves, and we'll come together for the open mic after the break. Thank you.
And for Nia Deku. And everything she said.
Hi there. Okay, so we're gonna get the second part of our evening started. Thank you guys all for staying and for your patience. Is everyone's thirst quenched because of the beautiful drink services provided by Chicory's? Oh yeah, Chicory's. All right, well, right now, we just wanted to take a moment to honor Miss Patrice. Yes. She has been single-handedly organizing these things, booking the talent, making sure that there's a space, inviting people to come, bringing people in for 16 years, Patrice? 14. Oh, well, just take the extra 2 years. But 14 years of this wonderful monthly literary event right here in Grand Coteau. Thank you so much, Ms. Patrice. So, I think I speak for Jacqueline, we both feel super honored that you're trusting us with this baby. We want to do it justice. We want to make sure that, we bring all the same energy and vivacity that you have. Yes. Yeah, come up here. Why are you doing, what you doing over there? Yeah. Miss Patrice. All right. this whole event wouldn't exist. You didn't have to do this. Exactly. You didn't have to build this. And so I think everyone here tonight is very grateful and excited that you've created this wonderful legacy and this wonderful event. And I just wanted to, it's not much, but here's some flowers for you. Yes, you look good. All right, a round of applause for Miss Patrice, please. Woo! Woo! Yes. Thanks. Yeah, you can go down. you're free. All right. Next, we're going to read our group poem. So I think most of you, if not all of you, added a line. And Miss Jeannie Dauphin is going to come up and read our group poem. This is my aunt, by the way. Come on.
Okay. I feel renewed when floating in a hot air balloon on a breezy spring day. I feel renewed when I visit my friend Grace, who lives on the 9th floor on Miami Beach. I feel renewed when I watch the morning birds from my window, the cardinals, Inca doves, indigo bunting, and sweet finches. I feel renewed when I wake up after a nap in the sunlight. I feel renewed when my children are doing well and pursuing their dreams. I feel renewed when I see my family and spend time with them. I feel renewed when I've had a good night's rest. I feel renewed when life gives me a shove. I feel renewed when I wake, feeling really rested. I feel renewed when I can hear the singing of the birds over the loud din of early morning madness. I feel renewed when I am among family and friends. I feel renewed when I see the smile of my grandson. I feel renewed when I speak to my daughter and granddaughter.
You guys, that was super beautiful. We have to take this show on the road, man. Thank you all for participating in this. The group poem is also a brainchild of Patrice, and I want to keep that going because it's so nice to be able to create something collaboratively. And that's what this event is about, and that's what Festival of Words is about. So we're going to open our open mic now, and I don't have the clipboard to know who's going first. All right, first night, guys. Cut me some slack. All right, our first presenter tonight is Miss Deborah R. Young. All right, please give her a big hand, big round of applause.
Thank you so much. I'm a voice actor, a writer, a screenwriter, a poet. So I owe all of that to Patrice because I had no idea. I was as shocked as everyone else was. I participated in my first word crawl in 2017, and I presented my great love of African American oratory. In 2018, I participated again and also produced an original work based upon my experiences in teaching literacy to the incarcerated. Also participated in the Festival of Words in 2018 for the very first time, and I was so shocked when at the workshop at the Festival of Words, one of them in November 2018, Jack Bedell, Louisiana Poet Laureate, 2017-2019, requested my response to one of the writing prompts. I almost fainted dead awake. I said, me? He was like, yes. Could you please send me a copy of that? And I'd like to read it for you now. The prompt was to select 3 of your favorite quotes from outside sources And I remembered my grandmother. And I would ask this question, why did that lady do what she did? You know, I was a little inquisitive child, must have worried them to death. I was always asking why. And she'd look at me and she said, she done the best she could. I said, yes, ma'am. I don't know if I understood what she meant or not. But later on, the older you get, you figure it out. And this is titled, A Woman Got to Do What She Do. Hands pressed against the wall of no. Pressing so hard, she broke a nail. The pain intense, but brief. She felt the surface yield beneath her strength, just enough to give that vision wings, to do what she do. Thank you. I'm also a part of a writing table in Lafayette on Wednesday nights. The festival was tonight, so of course, you know, the library closed early. So, but I was planning on playing hooky and coming here anyway. And we were discussing bibliotherapy, so that your writing basically will help you to heal. And we had to say something about our own writing, which is very difficult to do. And I got up enough courage to write this on my writing. Scratches on a page, glimpses of bright light, transformed flashes of future time that not yet thought nor experienced. Are we just explorers of the mind, collecting samples of electrical impulse upon the vast terrain of flickering neurons? Each compartment opened with great effort until the connection becomes the root of imagination. Then, frantically, we pour it all out, quickly before it disappears, catching it just in time, to only pray to repeat it all over again. One word at a time, scratches transformed into sparks. Thank you. And the last one I called Present Time. I'm an observer of the times, and I love to write social commentary, but through poetry and prose. Present time. You saw the shock on my face as I saw the shock on your face. All this time we thought we knew each other when all along we've been lying. Living together, smiling, sharing space. Now I see what you really feel. All this time I've held it inside, my rage. So now you see what I really feel and you are afraid of me. Why do you run? I'm not afraid of you anymore. Stand still. Let me read your mind. Now you read my mind. Let us see the truth. Face it, thought to thought. Together, we cannot escape. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. And next, we're gonna have Miss Sally Dolphin, and following her, we're gonna have our founder, Patrice. She's gonna come back up. All right. Sally? Sally?
Good evening, everyone. I am more nervous than a fly on a hot plate right now. But I'm going to share with you, as my daughter suggested, the beginning of my beautiful life with my husband. But first of all, I want to share this. I'm 82 years old and the mother of 4 children and 2 grandchildren. I met my husband during the Christmas holidays of 1954. And it was very unusual how it happened. His sister was my teacher, and she called me to the desk and she said, "Sally, I'd like you to teach my little brother how to dance." And I'm like, okay. And I thought her little brother was in college, you know. So we were sitting in class, and as girls do, we were watching people going down the hall. And here was this handsome guy in a uniform. He's going back and forth, back and forth. He was looking for the class. And when he came in, my best girlfriend was sitting next to me, and I grabbed her hand and I said, "Margaret, I'm gonna marry that guy if it's the last thing I do." He had the most beautiful eyes. And during the course of his sister introducing him to the class, my name just happened to be on the board for honor roll. And he looked up there and he says, "Oh, I know a Helen DeCoux. Is that your sister?" And I popped up and I said, "Her name is Hilda." And I sat back down. That should have told him something. But anyway, I taught him a few dance lessons. He only learned how to go back and forth, but he did dance. And I love to dance. So we went to a lot of balls and things during our marriage. And he did his back and forth. And as I have a nephew of mine, and he says, Francis always did 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and Sally just spun around him like a butterfly. So, but that Christmas Day he came over, and my mother, who had a strict rule, you could, if a boy had a car, your boyfriend had a car, you left the car in the yard and you walked wherever you were going, okay? I have 7 sisters that were older than me. Well, here come this young man in a car, okay, 26 years old, 25 years old at the time. And my mother let me go to the movies with him in his car, you know, big deal. But after dinner and all, and we went to the movies, we came back that night, and he said, "I have to leave to go back to the base in the morning, but I'll see you in April," okay? He gave him his address. I wrote, "No return." I wrote, "No return." Never answered any of my letters. But come April, I was in church, I sang in the choir, and I was up in the choir, he was coming out of the church, and our eyes like locked, and that was it. You know, I'm like, ooh. So I fooled around after church instead of going home. When I got home, my mother said, "Why are you so late coming home? Francis been here waiting for you." That was my fiance's name. And I'm like, okay. Well, anyway, we started dating in April. He was home at 7 o'clock every night. And I mean, that was every night until we got married. He never missed a time. So one Sunday I told him, I said, and I always called him baby. And I said, "Baby," I said, "don't come over tonight because Mother might get mad and say you're coming over too often." So he didn't come over. So about 8:30, my mother said, "Francis isn't coming over tonight?" And I said, "No," I told him not to come over because I didn't want you to get mad. She said, "Call that poor boy and tell him and tell him to come over." So that's how it went. We just dated for 9 months. And in September, which was my 19th birthday, he gave me an engagement ring. Not in the usual way, but in a bag of peanuts. So you know how unusual it was. And then we got married on November 19th, 1955. And we had a beautiful marriage. But when my mother sent out the wedding invitations, they read, "Mr. and Mrs. Alec DeCoux invite you to the marriage or the wedding of their daughter, Ophelia DeCoux, to Francis Dauphin." Well, the phone started ringing, and everybody wanted to know, "Ms. DeCoux, I thought Francis was marrying Sally. Who's Ophelia?" And my mother said, well, that's Sally. That's Sally's her nickname, but her real name is Ophelia. So I have always been known as Sally. Very few people know Ophelia. So don't ever come to Opelousas and ask for Ophelia, because you'll never find me. You got to ask for Sally. Well, we got married on that beautiful day between a funeral and baptisms, because there was a funeral before my wedding and it was long. So the priest called and told Mother, we'll have to put the wedding an hour later. So that's what, then after the wedding, there was the baptism. So this marriage had to last, okay? How you gonna mess up a marriage between a funeral and baptism? So it went on, but anyway, we had a beautiful, beautiful 50-year marriage. And in 2002, Francis got very ill, and he passed away. Well, we celebrated our 50th anniversary, which was so perfect because it was the same 19th of November, 2005. And in 2007, or was it 2006, he died. 2006, he died on February 7th. But we had a beautiful, beautiful marriage. You know, he put up with me, which was not easy to do. It was just, I never know what you're going to say next. I never know what you're going to do next. But whatever it was, he loved it. And here we were. Thank you.
And I have to follow up that, Miss Sally DeCruz. Still talk about stealing the show? All right. That was great. And I want to just quickly say thanks to my husband, who's been with me in supporting everything I've attempted to do for years and years. Our first open mic, nobody came, so we read to each other, but he was there for that too, from the beginning to the end. And I'm just so proud that you all wanted to take this over and that it's in such capable hands. And I want to thank this community. It's a very warm, and it's an intimate community. Not all communities will let you in if you're not from there, but Grand Coteau is a place where they give you a chance, where people are open and they're kind, and they will reach out to you, and that's meant the world to me. So it allowed this to happen here, really, and thanks to all of you. I've got a poem, maybe two, I don't know. I gave a reading. I gave a reading at Vermilionville, and the theme was food, so I started writing food poems. So here's one called Orange Juice. Frigid February mornings in Dallas, bare feet upon polished cement floors of our suburban home. Dad pulled out the turquoise mixer and on top attached a blue glass bowl with rounded cone and funnel hanging down. Yellow splotched orange halves wait on the wooden cutting board. He presses each half onto the spinning cone, and yellow liquid circles the bowl and flows down the glass funnel into the bowl. He makes 5 glasses of cloudy, pulpy, sweet juice, and for all the time and effort, I drink it down quickly. This was the taste of chilly mornings, winter floors, mesh bags of fruit from the downtown Dallas farmers market, flavor of hesitation of school and homework and things I didn't want to do. When someone poured OJ from a carton or a bottle, I couldn't understand the acidic taste, pulpless, no sweetness to bring me through the routine, chores of my youth and chilly regrets. And this poem is called British Tea. In the British TV programs, right after the frantic cat fight, after confrontation of the dark cloaked stalker, at the scene of the bloody murder, someone chimes, "Shall I make a nice pot of tea?" Because that makes everything better. Black tea with milk and sugar, scones and Devonshire cream and lemon curd helps everyone just calm down to work out the marital spat, to realize why the priest ran off with someone's daughter, cures the cancer that once seemed terminal, helps Sherlock to figure out the motive for the rampage of murders, soothes the killer into confessing why he did it, hands gloved in black leather. It all works out over a steaming bergamot-scented liquid swirled with floral silver spoons in finely painted china cups on a damp, foggy British day. Just a spot of tea tames these drama-infused lives of ours. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. And now we have Gabrielle Douglas. Gabrielle Douglas. Gabrielle Douglas.
Hi. I feel a little bad because I feel like today the poetry and the presentation has been really positive, but the things I'm about to read are kind of dark because I'm in a really dark place right now. And this might be the last time that I ever do something like this because I've decided that I'm gonna stop writing. So I hope you guys enjoy it. This poem is called The House on the Cape. You built me a house on the Cape, blue shingles, a tall roof. When the wind buffeted the windows, we used to say God was breathing on us, reminding us of her presence. You built me that house on the Cape. In the house on the Cape, you fed me apples, Gala, because I liked those best. You'd bake them into pies and push the crust into my mouth with your fingers, saying, "Eat, girl, you have to eat." I'd eat. You fed me apples. In the house on the Cape, you fucked me. You never looked at my face for some reason. It was always just the top of my head and no sound coming from you, and then, oops, semen on my stomach in case the birth control didn't work. You fucked me, and I learned to want you so bad. Then, in the house on the Cape, you began to lock the doors. I could not access the kitchen or the dining room. I urinated in the backyard when you locked the bathroom door. One day I came home and my keys didn't work. "Jack," I called out. No answer came. You locked me out of the house on the Cape with the blue shingles, the tall roof. When the wind buffeted me and God blew her air into my face, she told me, "Get to steppin', kid." I left the house on the Cape. Okay, this one is called Bad Father. Sunday morning, I hand you the baby. There's wet, partially chewed food in its mouth. "Why won't it stop crying?" you were always asking me, and there are bags beneath your eyes so heavy you could carry planets in them. "Why won't you stop hitting it?" comes my invariable answer. You say nothing. You slap the baby. Get your hand off the fucking stove. At night, we lie together in bed and touch with our feet. You keep reaching for my tits like my old Mexican boyfriend used to, and I just look out the window at the side of the neighbor's house. They gave us a succulent when we moved in. I didn't know you were supposed to repot those things, so it died. And the baby keeps crying. At midnight, you get up and go into the baby's room. On the monitor, I hear you smacking the baby around the room, putting it on the floor and kicking it around like an oblong ball of brown flesh. You come back into our room and climb on top of me. I say, you reply. On Monday, you go to work. You tell me you're going to bring the baby with you, but I change your mind with a well-rehearsed crying fit. I kiss you goodbye at the door and watch your beige car take off down the street like a bat out of hell. The baby is crying. Sometimes at night, I sleep in the baby's room so you don't come in to play soccer with his body. Sometimes I work myself up and stuff the baby into my mouth so you don't have to see it, but then you think I'm the one crying, aren't I? Sometimes the baby sits in the pit of my stomach and is very quiet and very still, and you do nothing but kiss me all over my body, even in the gross and ugly places where I've cut myself with shaving razors and kitchen knives. The truth is, I don't trust you with the baby. It's your turn tonight, though, so I just look at the neighbor's house and stay very quiet. Thank you.
And I say transitions of shifts and fault lines and frequencies. And that's what our Festival of Words. Words are vehicles, and they're powerful, and they're transformative. They help us express, and they help us move forward when we get stuck. And so, in the transition and our frequencies, I know everyone, we are going to continue with this thought. And may I ask, Miss Patrice, real quick, can I just ask just everyone, just a minute of silence? Is that okay? Yeah, and we just ask for a minute of silence and just breathe. That's all. Just breathe. Thank you. Thank you. I love words. Words, again, are so, again, expressive and helpful. And this is the time that we can celebrate, or we can try to help heal ourselves. And many days, and I know that we do, even in this state, Patrice, words help heal. And I got this little theme about transitions and about fault lines where everything crashes into each other. And sometimes life crashes. And that's reality. And that's why I love what she does, because with a single statement, with a single word, you can change your life. With a single statement, with a single word, you can change your life. And so I want you to take whatever your word that you felt, because you felt, and that emotion, and I want you to send that, out to that young lady, and that expression of pain. And glad we got it out. We released joy, we released pain. I heard her releasing joy and memories of. Tell me about what she do. What she do? Remind me of your title. She do what she do. That's right. She do what she do. And with that said, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And Miss Agnes, help me, Miss Agnes Carville. And she is a lovely, lovely, awesome, wonderful lady teacher that I met today. I'm excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good evening. It's very difficult after a very emotional moment, and thank you, Jacqueline, and for your words. You are an excellent speaker. Thank you, Patrice, and thank you, Holland, for providing that platform. It's always difficult when you say you have to tell stories who are have powerful words, and you just. I felt the sorrow and the pain. I'm gonna talk. I don't have anything to. I don't have a story or a poem or a song, and I used to have some. The last song I wrote that song about the Green Book, and I still want to talk about civil rights tonight. But I want to talk about the pain of a man. I met him in Opelousas. He's 75. He just opened African American Museum, so I bought the flyer for you. I'm helping him right now, and I became a board member of the little museum. He's a former social studies teacher. When I met him, I knew I had something similar. We're gonna have in, I think in all United States right now, there is a civil rights trail in Baton Rouge, and Lafayette's gonna be at 10 o'clock Monday at the Clifton Chenier Center. At 2 o'clock, it's gonna be at the Opelousas Tourist Center, Visitor Center. And with Mr. Wilkin, we decided to have an open house. He's gonna have an open house. I will be there to help him from 7 to 9 on Monday, April 29. So come visit. It's a flair and the flavor of that man whose name is Wilkin Johnson. Talking about pain, he spoke to me about pain when he opened his African American Museum. He decided to do a research, and I mean not only a research, but it's something that he lived mainly in the 60s because he's 75. But he did the research also previously about the Opelousas massacre, and I've been working on it also to have an historical marker in Opelousas. So we are working together. I work with the Equal Justice Initiative, and it's gonna happen. So I'm really, really happy about it. When you go to his museum, he documented from the 1860 to 1960, so it's prior to the civil rights movement, just around that time. He's a man who had a lot of pain, but he has a lot of humor, so I encourage you to go see him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're going to remember those dates and those places. And our last open mic spokesperson, before I call them up and everything, I'm just going to wrap this up because I love words, but when we say pain, I think of the word passion. And we've just come out of that Easter week and that Holy Week and his passion for us. And I know in this community, we have love and hope and everything. And I believe that what we do here and when you came here, it was about hope. And hope is expectation. And words gives us expectation to hope through visuals, through words, through everything. So I met this awesome young man that made my life fantastic this afternoon. His name is Mr. Olin Thibodeau. Come on.
Thank you. Quite an introduction. Okay. I want to do a poem by an author named Ken Nardine, and the name of it is Flesh. Flesh, as a color, is in an awful mess. Yes. Ask anyone with flesh, and they'll tell you. Flesh, as a color, is about as close to a problem as a color can get. Some people think that the only color flesh should be is the color their flesh is, which, pure and simple, is color-centric thinking. Popular in some corners. But you and I know that the only color flesh should be is the proper color it is, varying from complexion to complexion. But if black flesh and brown flesh, white flesh, red flesh, yellow flesh, if all the fleshes that are flesh want to make a sensible similarity among differences, we better forget about the flesh and all the colors it can be and think on the spirit and its singular light. Otherwise, flesh as a color could be black and blue, or even a bloody hue. Thank you.
Thank you for your continued attention. And without further ado, I am going to get Miss Patrice, and I need you to help us to wrap this up, because I know everybody's been so awesome tonight. And thank you for just inviting Nia and myself in to just help be a part. Wow. Oh my God. Yes, indeed. So here she is, and I'm going to turn it over to, because I'm new. This is my first time, people. So back into your hands for tonight. Yes.
Hey. Oh, Carol, were you signed up on the list?
I didn't see that. Okay.
Oh.
Well.
Carol Rice. Carol
Rice. Let's say it again. Carol Rice. Everybody say her name. Carol Rice. Go, girl.
Well, since we're in the poetry class, you could just say Carol Rice is very nice, because it rhymes. All right, well, anyway, I think we need a little lightness here before we go home. So I liked it, the poetry from Patrice about the food. So this, my first poem, fits right in. My Aunt Ruth, when you came to her house, would go get a chicken for lunch. And I write words like Aunt Ruth fixed dinner. I don't want to cut the live chicken in half, down the middle, guts, blood, and entrails going awry. I want a clean cut, a sure death. I have seen one when a child, the headless chicken flapping in dirt. In my poems, too, they need meticulous effort, all my experience to whittle the words into a message. That's the way I feel. A serious poem. My poems are funny because I have cracked my cranium and I'm too serious. They leave me dizzy. My jokes are funny too, borrowed or new. They leave me alone and satisfied, not lonely, unless I was that before the jokes. But when the poems leave me alone after, I think of death. So many poems about funerals. Well, jokes too. I am unable to imagine a funeral for myself. But my best friend asked me just the other day if I would go shopping for a dress to wear for her own funeral. She wants to control how she looks at her funeral. But I forgot tonight in a calm sky while I am blissfully alive looking for Mr. Goodwin. Now, I think that's funny, but no joke. And then for my friend here from Grand Coteau, she's telling me about all the horses they have up there, which I remember in the old days going up there for horseshoes and bringing my horses up there. I even gave them a horse one time. All right. And this is called Notes for a Friend, locked in a cage, holding the key in her hand, but fearful of life outside. Illness is a cage padded with concern, softness, and sympathy. The broken wing must mend, no doubt, before the bird can fly. But this warbler sings loudly while savoring the room service. And this is also about the same person who is now deceased, so I feel I can read this in public. Expert long legs encased in slim shoes and black stockings draped sadly on the rich red of oriental wool. I remember seeing them encased in tall riding boots on the white walls. The horses are all frozen in gymnastic airs, each a marvel of living grace. So much for my career in dressage. I think this is my final poem for tonight. Let's see. Oh, no, I have two more, sorry. This one I just wrote the other day. It was on a Sunday morning, and it was so good, I thought I would go over to my friend's house and read her my poem, which I think is a little bit intrusive. So I go timidly to the door, and I knocked on the door. And she says, "Carol, I'm so glad to see you." I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, I was trying to call you to invite you over for lunch." So then we had this nice luncheon with a number of ladies, and I read the poem. Sunday morning, bright sun, goldfish in the murky pond rise at my offering. Fading red winter grass transfixed in early slant rays. The dirt, moist, gives up the strays readily. My first coffee of the day, after the full moon night when this small patch of my peace was mystical. I opened the window as I raked and planted and trimmed until the sun was warm and the coffee cup needed refilling. I opened the window to let out the music of Beethoven into the scene. I forgot, as I now often do, something, but I don't care anymore. All right, so, and my final poem. A glance through the window as I peeled a greenish banana. I forgot my irritation at my bones and finger joints. A little warmth from the 4 o'clock sun felt good. The slightly sour banana, smooth and chewable, was so satisfying and complex. The sun was making delightful dapples on the grass, which I had just mown. Turning to the sink into the reading chair, I was struck by the translucent yellow-green of the trees, the dark trunk, the sun in my eyes, and the flower-red color of the Japanese maple tree. I paused to see the sprouted birdseeds who have made a stand of sunflowers. They happily bloom tall and straight, supporting each other. Their brown eyes seem calm, like the calm of the old monks in a place I used to pray. And then I would just like to say in the end, you know, when in Grand Coteau, it's always like a religious place, but I was thinking as I got here tonight, you know, that in my poetry, I don't see the divine somewhere else. I just see it here. So I thank y'all.
Thank you all for coming. I want to point out that Jacqueline drives in from Patterson, which is like an hour and 45 minutes away, just to illuminate this event and to help it carry on. So thank you for that. Also a big hand to Nia. She'll feel our love, but big hand to Nia also, and the two of them are going to bring energy and life. Oh, here she is, right on cue. Thank you all for being you and for being here. We'll see you same time, same place at the last Wednesday of May. Is that the 29th, I think? I'm not sure. The last Wednesday of May with Daryl Bork and with Sister Joseph, and it'll kind of be rotating around the Sisters of the Holy Family who educated many of the people who live in this area. So I think it'll be a really wonderful evening. I adore you all. Thank you.